Hello friends, I am Toucan. Welcome to my channel. This week I will talk about Marduk's matrix system and the black cube. In Galactic Human Video 1, while explaining the history of the universe, I mentioned the creation of reptoid beings. Reptoid creatures were created by the evolution of a creature resembling Yusuf and its transformation into giant lizards, and the merging of the gene of this giant lizard with the gene of the carrions. Now, whether it's a dragonfly or a bee, their ways of moving are different. Why am I telling this now? I will mention that Enlil and Enki are not involved in this power struggle. Only Enlil and Marduk are involved in this power struggle. I'm talking about their involvement in the authority war, the struggle for power. Why isn't Enki here? Now I'm telling it. Enki's reason for absence. There are two types of reproduction in these bees. There is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Now, when there is normal reproduction, a queen is born, that is, a female is born, and she becomes the queen later. And individuals that are produced via asexual reproduction are designated as the male workers. Similarly, due to the possibility of walking in that manner, this Enki is also commonly referred to as Enki's mother Dramin and father Anu, for example. Actually, Enki was born after Anu and Dramin got married, but this reproduction did not occur sexually. Dramin, the queen of Orion, brought Enki into existence through asexual reproduction, similar to the way bees create offspring. Enki is born as a working-class individual and is more in the background compared to her sisters in the world she enters. Due to the greater significance of females in Orion, Enki is refraining from using force to intervene. So, the self-reproduction method called pantogenesis also exists in bees, and as a result of the evolution of beings resembling bees, such as Yusufcha, they turn into giant lizards, and these reptoid beings are produced from those giant lizards. Thus, the same applies to these Orions too. So, in that drama, the same was mentioned, and Enki was not born to the world sexually. You're likely hearing this for the first time here. I just received this info too. Due to the fact that he is not actively involved in this authority race, this ongoing power struggle, as a result of his membership in the working class, it is inherently true that he is Enlil's stepbrother without a doubt. But he is not involved in the power struggle. But his son Marduk is the result of sexual intercourse, that is, the mating of Enki and Damkina, and he is also the heir of the Orion Empire. That is why he engaged in a power struggle with Enlil. It is always narrated in mythologies, there exists the struggle between Enlil and Enki, one will arrive, the other will depart. In some sources, this age was called Enlil's era, discussions like Enlil will go, Enki will come in his stead. As I mentioned, no chance of Enki coming and taking over. He's a genius, a scientist. He is committed to science. He has no aspiration to be in a position of authority or power in any manner. This is a result of this. Yes, as I previously mentioned, Enki has not occurred through sexual reproduction, but rather through asexual reproduction, a process known as parthenogenesis. So what we call pantogenesis is this. It is possible to reproduce without the need for a female and a male. Similarly, though rarely, this can also be seen in mammals and sometimes in humans. Enki also came into the world this way. Now let's discuss Marduk briefly. He engaged in a power struggle with Enlil and consistently expressed his belief that he should occupy a prominent position of authority, wielding power from the throne, because he asserted the right from her since he was the offspring of Damkina, who served as an Orion queen. He asserted that it should also be located at the head of Nibiru. Consequently, he entered into a power struggle with Enlil. An agreement was made between them, Enlil and Marduk, based on the years of the zodiac poems, i.e. their age, with 3 ages for Marduk and 3 ages for Enlil in total. Now is the era of Marduk's final age. Following that, El, the son of Anu, also referred to as Enlil, will arrive. Incidentally, when Marduk took over and declared himself the only god by expelling the memory from Nibiru, the first thing he did was to convert the polytheistic narrative in the Torah into a monotheistic religion, thereby establishing a belief system centered around a single deity. He expelled all the other deities from the planet Nibiru and declared himself as the sole divine being. Now Marduk not only accomplished this, but you are also aware that he is the deity of Babylon, Marduk. And as the deity of Babylon, he initially commissioned a poem known as Enuma Elish. By printing this epic, he narrated things that had not happened as if they had happened. For example, she has told stories like how she fought against the Alpha Draco Queen Tiamat, killed her, and thus took control of the whole system. Fabricated a lie. In fact, he declares himself as Enlil in this system in the Epic of Babylon. Where am I, Enlil? Because it took 99 adjectives, which are the names of those deities, and took them as adjectives for itself. Thus it had 99 names. One of them is Enlil. Normally Enlil's son's name is Eldir. He was given the title of Endil. The definition of Endil is commander of orders. Additionally, Marduk stated, I am Endil, which signifies I am the commander of commands, but he also employed the name Endil. In the beginning, Endil himself created religions to manipulate people, as a means of control. Here I am, God, she said. Brother, look, Enki doesn't resemble us at all by saying he is a devil and bad-mouthing him. He also presented himself as a creator in people's eyes. And people to him, they were worshipping, they were saying God, and as a planet, it was associated with the planet Saturn. And the greatest of the deities is Saturn, also recognized as the deity of monarchs. In Hebrew, he's known as God El. Now, of course, when Marduk Pasha passed, he took that title himself and made others serve him. In Enlil's system, he made people give them energy through worship, harnessing the power of their devotion. Humanity is a type of battery. Battery, that's it. The gods drained people's energy, disguised as worship, to sustain themselves. When you concentrate on something specific and consistently transmit energy there, they derive nourishment from it. At first, Enlil was doing this. He was creating it. In actuality, it is associated with Saturn. For example, I had said that these are called the Quran in the Quran. They say that I am the Alpha and Omega, I am the first and the last. What does Alpha and Omega mean now? Alpha is the start, Omega is the end. If Alpha is the start, Omega is the end. Now this thing is starting in the world, and there is an exit from Saturn. Why is there an exit from Saturn? The reason is that the mechanism controlling the matrix system is situated in the rings encircling Saturn. Symbolically speaking, Jews used to refer to Saturn as a cube star and associate it with the color black, as we can observe when we analyze it from a symbolic perspective. In fact, they themselves used to perform this by dressing in black, just like the ancient priests. And the symbol of Saturn, as I mentioned earlier, was a cube. In reality, there are manifestations of this shape in the world. For instance, the Kaaba is a black cube-shaped structure and people rotate around it. What is it? Saturn. What happens when you turn around? It becomes his ring. It represents Saturn completely in this system. The energy goes to Saturn, to the founders of the matrix system on Saturn, namely Marduha, generating power. In fact, there is a link with a silver cord in astral bodies, and that link extends up to Saturn at most. Simultaneously, Melai Allah, mentioned in the Quran as the Supreme Assembly, was founded in Saturn's rings, because humanity feeds them under the name of worship. Now, when people turn to the Kaaba, which is the representation of the world, and worship, where does its energy go? He is going to Saturn. The energy is collected from there, and this energy goes to Marduk on Saturn. Also, there's Kabbalah, for instance, mention Allah. In short, it signifies a cube. Cube means cube god. Saturn, that they call the cube god. Going to Saturn for energy. Now naturally Enlil, who is El, the son of Anur, was nourishing himself by obtaining energy in this particular manner. But later, when Marduk Pasha passed, he himself took over the leadership of this system. And when it was established, for example, it is the god of Babylon, also Marduk, he built the Tower of Babel in a hexagonal shape, and there is already a cube on top of that tower. We can see the cube symbol in many places. There are black cubes at graduation ceremonies. Besides, for instance, the object we call a ring, married individuals wear rings on their fingers. This implies that these rings are the rings of Saturn, and it is believed to be a union in the presence of God, which is why this ring is worn on the finger as a symbol of devotion and commitment. It represents the rings of Saturn. If you remember, I have explained it in my previous videos. After Marduk Pasha passed, they made some adjustments, changes to be able to feed from that energy. As an illustration, Islamism became relevant later in the era of Marduk. Afterward, for instance, in the beginning, the mosques constructed by Muslims were oriented towards Petra. Due to the fact that they were residing underground on Earth, and those reptoid beings were nourishing themselves from that energy source. The reptoid beings in Petra, Jordan, were sustained and nourished by the worship performed by the people who resided there. Later, after Marduk assumed control of the matrix system, it was stated that individuals could now face the Kaaba and engage in worship. And individuals also generate an EM field around it and transmit that energy to Marduk on Saturn by worshipping at that location. In fact, everything is very clear and obvious in symbolism. You are witnessing the presence of Marduk in this moment. It keeps exploiting people's energy fully at the start of this matrix system. Yes. Now, in addition to that, let me also mention this in relation to Marduk. My apologies for the confusion in relation to Saturn. For instance, why is Saturn called the cube? Because there are huge hexagonal structures atop Saturn, giving it its unique nickname. There is a circular shape like an eye of a storm, and its surroundings are hexagonal, and that one is similar to an earring. And in that manner, individuals have also transmitted energy to that location by creating shapes that are in the form of cubes. As I mentioned, Saturn, for instance, the significance of Saturn is Kronos in Greek mythology and Enlil in Sumerian mythology. It is the planet of Enlil, but naturally when Marduk assumed control, he transformed that energy to belong to himself. Marduk has made so many adjustments of all kinds to manipulate individuals. Currently, individuals previously worshipped Enlil under the guise of Allah. Later, Enlil gave this title to his son as Allah, the Arab god gave to Allah. This is known as Zeus in Greek mythology. After that, when he moved to Marduk Bash, he took the title Marduk. Now humanity actually worships the son of Enki, whom we know as Satan, named Marduk. They are sending energies to him. Yes, my dear friends, if you can recollect, it is explicitly mentioned in the Quranic scriptures about this magnificent and awe-inspiring grand assembly that has been foretold. In the Quran, for instance, dragons are referenced from the Supreme Council. Chapter 9 of the Quran. In that verse, the jinns say that whenever we try to ascend and listen to the word, a light, a flame falls behind us. There are verses saying, similar verses in Surah Sad and Surah Safa too, mentioned about ancestors' glory, noble assembly. The protectors of the Saturn rings, there are the Dracos. Draco beings prohibit reptilians from entering, as they were already a laboring class, created for their own interests and to be exploited. Before, they could go there and get information, but later it became prohibited. In this manner, the control mechanism was fully implemented in this manner. Actually, you've seen the name Hatter in many places. Even the angels had names like El. Like Mikhail, Cebrail, Azrail, there is always a hand. He is the God, Allah is also the name of God. From there, related to Saturn. But this name was first used by Enlil, who is the son of Anul. Later, Marduk adopted names, saying, I am Enlil. Actually, he also criticized Enlil's name, because in many sources, in mythologies and so on, something is always said. Enlil did many evil deeds, etc. Now Enki will replace him. It is said to be in the age of Aquarius or similar. This info is incorrect. Enki has no future. Enki has no job in an authority system. He is a total scientist. This struggle is completely between Marduk and Enlil. Therefore, the son of Anu is taking over this struggle. And as I stated Marduk, this era is coming to an end. Following that, the son of Anu will assume control once more. Ultimately, the shepherds are changing, while the sheep remain unchanged. Humanity continues to be controlled by the shepherds. Now we're in a period called the Apocalypse, so we're in the awakening phase of this time. We're realizing what's what, and this system's starting to collapse. The founders are also intervening and secretly leaking info to people. They wake people up. When humanity awakens, they won't feed these reptoid beings, also known as demons, with their energies. They'll start feeding them now. Their system will also suffer a breakdown. This power will be taken from Marduk, because there is also an opportunity for humanity to rise. They can no longer be used as slaves or servants like this. This process will continue until the year 2030. In the year 2037, people will also be 5 years old. There will be opportunities for vertical growth. So just like these humanoids and reptoids, humanity also has a fifth. Opportunities to grow are available. Yes, I have been producing videos providing explanations of the information contained in this Quran for a considerable period of time now. I explained all your connections pertaining to these topics with religions. In future videos, I will create more videos discussing what it means to be human, what is real, and how emotions, thoughts, and behaviors are. If you have any inquiries regarding the subjects I have covered thus far, you can contact me via my YouTube channel. Continue to subscribe. I will continue to shoot videos as much as I can every week. Take good care of yourself. Goodbye for now. Goodbye.